This episode of the ZuLoo Pōōdcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.
So maybe we're a little bit, I guess we could be obsessed with the idea of pure water.
Yeah.
But actually, truly pure water does more damage than good.
Truly pure? Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Welcome to the ZuLoo Pōōdcast, where we talk all things poop, toilets, and sanitation. Through insightful news, impact stories, and quirky humor, we aim to discuss and highlight the critical role toilets play in whisking poop out of our lives, the impact toilets have, or lack thereof, in the health and wellness of humanity, and what ZuLoo is doing to help solve the current global sanitation crisis.
Everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of the ZuLoo Pōōdcast. I am one of your hosts, Jocelyn Gardner, and I am joined by the amazing
Darren.
That's a little more enthusiasm.
Darren Mangum.
Yes, there we go.
As if you all missed me. They're like, who's that?
Oh no, they all knew right off the bat who you are. It was I.
They tune in for Jocelyn anyway. I'm just sort of here. I'm just doing the poo news in the background, you know. Well, Jocelyn, you could do this show on your own, so I don't know.
No way. I think I need a banter partner, if that's the correct term.
Yeah, I'll be your backstop. Just
if I'm just talking about poop by myself, it's a little weird.
Yeah, talking to yourself about poop, it's something. Yeah, could be a problem.
But we were just talking about the poop cruise. That you haven't seen that docuseries.
I have not seen it yet, but we should totally do a thing on it.
I think we could do an entire episode on this poop cruise. In fact, we should interview some of the people that were on it. If any of you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's 30 minutes. It's short, but it's that Carnival cruise where the power was out because there was a fire. And so sewage became a serious problem really, really fast.
No, I remember watching that. And I mean, I watched it in real time as it, on the news as it happened day after day. The cruise ship lost power and it was adrift. And then, everybody was focused on that. But, obviously the with no power, the toilet stopped working and everything stops working. And I went on a cruise one time and it seems, I think if you put too much toilet paper in those things, they'll clog up. And there was at least like a couple hours where ours was clogged. And I'm like, man, if this thing overflows,
I know the rooms are this big. There's nowhere to escape.
Nowhere for it to go. Yeah. And so I can't imagine being on that ship.
Oh, it looked so rough. I felt so bad for those people.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
It was an absolute disaster. I mean, the toilets aren't the first thing you think of when the power goes out. You just assume gravity, water.
Right. It's still floating. They can still get the toilets. Everybody is going to die. But totally. We'll totally link to that in the show notes. But no, I want to see the documentary because I remember watching it. Was it 20? Was it 10 years ago?
It was 2014. So
2014.
11 years ago.
So I remember watching it, going, man,
I know
that's
rough.
Like a nightmare. It's almost as bad as some of our airplane stories. Of the people getting stuck. But that's.
I think the cruise.
At least
worse.
the plane's going to land in a little while.
Right. It's not a week.
The cruise was like days after day after day where they're stuck out there. But anyway, totally. But welcome back to the studio. We have a little different setup today. We've got. I don't know. What do you think? Is it? We don't have our table, but we still have our.
We don't have the table, but I love these chairs. It feels very conversational.
Yeah,
it's easier to look at you without doing one of these.
A little less formal than we've been. We've been kind of studio minded, right? We don't have the headphones anymore.
Oh, that's true. I just realized that we don't
all of that.
have headphones.
Well,
not that we've ever been the most formal. I mean, we talk about poop a lot, which typically wouldn't come up.
Yeah, well, that's the purpose of the show, right?
Well, speaking of poop, what news do you have for us?
Yeah, poo news, right. I'm glad you asked. We do have some poo news. And today we're talking with
Cydian Kaufman.
Cydian Kaufman, who's the water expert. I wanted to highlight this news story of it was actually we often talk about water, clean water sanitation needs around the world, right? But we don't often talk about needs that are here in the United States, which a lot of people don't think about. They think, oh, everybody's got a toilet, right? When in reality, a lot of Native American tribes, they're in different reservations. They really don't have a lot of infrastructure for whatever reason. I mean, some tribes have casinos and they're like rolling in the money, and then other tribes, for whatever reason, they just don't have anything. There's no running water. There's no sanitation, because obviously, our history with the, Native American people is a little complicated, and it's
to say the least, yeah.
Not perfect, but because of that history, a lot of them don't have that infrastructure. And so, this article is kind of a cool article. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they actually did there's a community down in Arizona called Westwater, and it's funny that the town was called Westwater, but they had no running water. They had no, and they had to, and it's hard to imagine in 2025 people having to get jugs,
they had to go to the well,
go down to the well, like distant filling stations, to get water and then haul it back to their house. I mean, we see that in India all the time, but it's happening right here in the United States as well. And so this is a 27,000 square mile Navajo Nation community, and where most of the homes didn't have running water. And so they were able to drill some water wells in that area. And as you know, I mean, ZuLoo drills water wells in India and different places, but yeah, it's kind of exciting to see something happening in the United States for these Native American tribes, and they were able to connect these homes. They did it's not a very big town. It's only 21 households.
Oh wow, over 27,000 acres.
Right.
Are they kind of concentrated in one place, probably?
Yeah, they're well, it is a little spread out, but it's 21 homes in the community, and they were able to hook them all up with running water.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So kind of exciting to see that. See that happening.
Very, I probably unexpected for most people to hear that, somewhere in Arizona there was a community that didn't have running water in 2025.
Yeah.
I wonder, what prompted the church to go in and dig these wells.
Yeah.
And how many other communities could benefit from that?
I'm sorry. I misspoke. It's not in Arizona. It's actually Utah. So it's on the, it's down
Utah,
there.
Arizona
You
border,
were down, you were down at Lake Powell. Was it last week or?
I just got back 2 days ago.
2 days ago. So it was down in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Arizona, Utah border down there, but Westwater. Maybe you drove through it and didn't know it.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. We drove by, is it Amangiri or Aman? There's like all those amazing resorts on the way. They're kind of spread out, I think, all over the American West, but you could barely see these like little adobe dwellings or whatever they are from the freeway. And my boyfriend was saying, he's had friends that stay there and the food is supposed to be just amazing. And I'm like, how? They're in the middle of nowhere. Where are they getting all this fresh food?
Yeah.
So it just kind of makes you think how, on the one hand, it's kind of amazing that we can innovate and bring water and fresh food to some of these places, but to be aware that not everyone has access to clean water, even here in the United States.
Yeah. And that's what there's been a lot of focus on, looking at, some of these, again, Native American communities, and also a lot of urban settings we talk about public toilets as well. We were actually, I think I told you, we were on a little road trip up the Oregon coast, and we came back through Seattle, and we stopped by the Gates Foundation. They have a little discovery center there, and they talk about sanitation, because they're a big proponent of toilet technology and sanitation. Anyway, they had a statistic there on the wall that talked about there's only, like, for public toilets. I mean, private toilets is another matter, but when it comes to public toilets, which a fair number of people rely upon, whether they're a homeless person or whether they're maybe a mom that's out out in the city with their kids or whatever, there's only like one like in many states, there's only like maybe one public toilet per like 100,000 people.
Yeah, wow.
Especially even in big cities like New York and places like that, and so anyway, but yeah, it was. But yeah, I mean, again, when we talk about access to sanitation, it is also an issue here in the States, as well. So,
well, I think that's the perfect segue into our interview today with Cydian Kaufman. I don't want to get anything wrong, and we had so much fun with Cydian, but I want to give him the intro he deserves. Cydian is the founder of Pure Water Northwest, where he is on a mission to transform the way we think about the water running through our homes and businesses. So anyway, we had so much fun chatting with Cydian.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about
brilliant guy.
The difference between, what the city qualifies as clean water and what is, those qualifications, how that whole system works. So let's jump into our interview. Cydian, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so nice to meet you. And I would love to hear your background. I looked you up today. I did a little bit of stalking like I always do for our guests. You have a really interesting, varied background. I would love to hear a little bit about that and kind of what led you into the water treatment realm. And then also tell us a little bit more about Pure Water Northwest and what you guys do.
Okay. Why? Yeah, I never, ever would have imagined that I would be in water treatment. To tell you the truth, water chemistry itself was not my best subject. I mean, I can understand anything I really put my mind to, but it was not that interesting to me. My path, as you mentioned, being diverse, very diverse, was mainly because of my interest in mediation, as strange as that sounds. And I just, I leapfrogged from one conflict resolution to the next, and it led me to various places in business. I did a lot of property management because there's a lot of tenant-landlord mediation that's needed. And so it just led into me being offered a job as a property manager. And then I started a company. Property management and I've done sales because, that's something that you do, that you fill in because you can just always make money by talking, right? If you're in sales. But property management led me to water treatment because our customers were, our tenants were not able to, in some cases, get their water completely clean. And so they would come to me with like gray water or smelly water that smelled like rotten eggs. And I would take it to the owner, and the owner would say, all right, do testing on it. And it would all be within the EPA limits. And they would say, okay, I don't have to do anything about it.
Well, you mean like what they would find, the contaminants in the water were acceptable for the qualifications of the EPA?
Correct.
Okay.
Despite smelling like rotten eggs and despite being discolored and all that. Yeah. And so what that meant was that, I was stuck in the middle of trying to mediate between this tenant who doesn't have any standing and an owner who does need the tenant to stay or somebody to move in. And it just got me talking to people in water treatment. And that's how I talked to Chris Pelton, who founded Pure Water Northwest. And he gave me schooling and education on how the EPA has two guidelines. One is the MCLG, which is the health guideline, and one is the MCL, which is the legal guideline. And that really got me interested. And my daughter had a little bit of eczema. She had a little bit of dry skin, and he suggested a softener, and it fixed it, which is cool. I'm not saying that'll fix everyone's eczema, but it solved her problem. And so I was like hooked. I was like, wow, this is really an interesting problem that everyone is dealing with, and it's only getting worse. And that's how I got into water treatment 6 years ago. And I didn't know anything when I started. And now I know quite a bit. I certainly still don't know what a lot of the industry experts know, but I know quite a bit. So
Well, I'm curious. You mentioned, there are guidelines for safe water for, health guidelines, and then there's the legal guidelines. Is there a big difference between those two?
There can be. And it's interesting because we can take arsenic, for example. The level of arsenic is 0.1 parts per billion, I believe, for the legal limit, but the health guideline 0. So they allow a little bit of arsenic through. And if you talk to molecular biologists about that, they're like, yeah, I'm not worried about arsenic. I'm worried about strontium, or something like that. And I say, okay, cool. I mean, we've seen customers who have had problems with arsenic that have cost them greatly. And from low levels. And we've seen customers with arsenic who have had higher levels who don't even notice it and have no health issues. So we kind of feel like it is person to person, if that makes sense.
I'm going to expose my lack of chemistry knowledge here. I mean, it's confined to whatever I learned in 10th grade.
Right.
But when we think of what is acceptable in water, my guess is most of us don't know what else is in there besides the H and the O. Like, what is, I mean, this is such a silly basic question, but what is water besides the hydrogen and the oxygen? Are there things that we definitely want in there? There's always, a big debate about fluoride, but what other things are in the water that we do want? And then what are some things that we definitely don't want?
Yeah, I can answer that. The H and the O, they are polar charges. So basically, they have a positive charge and a negative charge within one water molecule, right? So that means anything that has a negative charge, if you look on the periodic table of elements and you look at the what it's going to have charge-wise, and each element may have each element does not necessarily have just one, but the element can bind to the electron ring, basically, around the water molecule. I am oversimplifying and not quite being perfectly accurate, but this is to simplify it. And that makes it so that these elements and good things can bind to the water. So now we have to talk about, okay, how much? Usually it's not very much. And in fact, when you talk about the good things that are bound to water, like calcium, magnesium, potassium, the amount that you drink in an entire day of drinking water is less than is in a slice of bread. Wow. It doesn't matter that much if we lose the good stuff. The bad stuff also often doesn't matter that much, but it can. This is where you get into people's bodies and what they are sensitive to. And then there can be very high levels of stuff that are completely invisible. You could have 10 parts per million of arsenic. You can have so much arsenic in water and it'd be perfectly crystal clear and taste perfectly. Arsenic is like a perfect killer in a way because it's odorless, it's tasteless. If you get a ton of it in, it might taste even a little sweet, so you might think your water is good. Yeah, so it is interesting because when it comes to certain things, if you don't test, you just don't know. And well water can have anything in it. What we do is we try not to scare people. We tell them you need to either look up your water report if you're on a municipality, or you need to, if you're on a well, you need to do a test. And after you've done the test, we can help you evaluate how bad it is. And then you can decide, is any amount of it acceptable? And if it is, you're good to go. And if it's not, we can take it out. That's basically how we approach it.
That makes sense. Yeah, we were talking right before we started the recording about some of the water wells that we drill in India. We just got back from India a few weeks ago, and we drill these water wells, and we obviously hire local geologists to determine the depth as to the water table and all of that. But the feedback that we got was that during monsoon season, because of the local, some of these slum areas are built next to a city dump,
Yeah.
uh, during monsoon season where the water, it's just, some of these little streets that go through the slums are just become rivers of water
Yeah.
and flood the area. And they said that the water well normally during the year is fine, perfectly drinkable. That arsenic question is something I'm curious about. But as far as the water quality, they say just goes to zero because in fact, some of the smell, the water smells bad. And in some cases, the water, they said it'll burn your skin, like whatever's leaching into the water table during that season is something that they just can't use it. And so, I mean, what is that? I mean, is that I know, and that's just that area. Do you see that as a common problem? You mentioned water wells. Is that a common problem with just kind of universally in your work?
Well, no, it's not a common problem here very much, but it definitely
in the States.
Yeah, in the Northwest.
In the Northwest, that's right.
Yeah, in the Northwest. It's not a common problem in the Northwest, but that's because we have a lot of there are some areas with a lot of clay. And so those areas we know about, and we're very careful about how we contain possible runoff near infiltration points. Some people's wells are affected by this, they're private wells. But to have a large, giant community well affected by that would be well protected here. And that's really rough because
if you're protected, meaning because of the EPA standards, is that what
it's protected in that way, and they would literally be forced to build, if that was a possibility, they would be forced to build walls or even a complete covered container with a bulkhead and the whole 9 yards. So they would have to completely protect that. In that case, yes.
Is that something that you could remedy with, some of the filtration technology that you work with? The water, obviously the water is contaminated, but is that possible to apply some technology to filter those bad things out?
Yeah. So when you're looking, you could for sure. Let me think. You're looking at garbage dumps, so you're definitely looking at possible microbiological pathogens like E. coli and Salmonella and Giardia and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be looking at chemical stuff like nitrates and ammonia. And that ammonia could be what's causing skin burns. These are just guesses. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a lot of heavy metals. Arsenic's definitely a possibility. Then there's anything that could be thrown away could be in it. VOCs, organic pollutants, mud that has all kinds of, like we said before, pathogens in it. There's so much that could get into the water. You would have to have pre-treatment and reverse osmosis essentially to get that out. Or you'd have to have just, it depends on how many people we're trying to get water to, right? If it's thousands or tens of thousands, then reverse osmosis won't work. And now we're looking at like flocculation, which is adding chemicals to the water to have things bind to it and either sink or float that can then be skimmed off. Or you'd be looking and then following that with chemical treatment like chlorine. And you'd have to use carbon as well in order to lessen some of the chlorine and get off some of the VOCs. It would just be, it'd be a municipality, but it would have to be stepped up to 11 so that it could handle those worst case scenarios. It probably would be cheaper for them to build some sort of infrastructure around it to prevent intrusion. It's hard.
Cheaper to prevent than to cure the water, basically.
Yeah, in that case, I would think, yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
It makes it really rough because now those communities, I'm really interested in how water treatment actually affects things like gender equality in small areas. If you have no access to water certain times of the year, or then you are traveling to get water, and it's always going to be women and children. Unless culturally it's not, it's usually going to be women and children getting that. And they're traveling then like a full day just to fetch water, which makes it so they can't work. And then they're reliant on men for all of their survival.
Yeah.
It changes the culture entirely.
Yeah, they either have to travel inside. I mean, sometimes water trucks will come around, but it's expensive. They have to buy it from the water truck, or they go to the municipal source, which is usually from where we're operating. We build toilets, and where we're drilling these wells, it's about a 5-mile walk to the edge of the city where they could access some of those services. But yeah, so obviously containment is cheaper. I mean, if you did have a water supply that you did have to strip some of those things out, what would be the? I mean, you mentioned a couple different ones: chlorine treatment,
and flocculation and carbon and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. What are the? I guess what would be the most basic level? Obviously, there's not, in some of these communities, they're not going to build a $1 billion wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
I mean, each one of these wells that we drill services a local group, or in the community, of about 600 people.
Oh, okay.
And so, what I mean, I know you're kind of shooting from the hip here, but what would be some? I mean, in your, just off the top of your head, some technologies that would be able to be applied, if not year round, at least during those seasons.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're just talking about a well that feed 600 people, a physical barrier may be a lot easier. I mean, the putting a barrier around it with a sealed well cap could help. The problem, though, is I don't know how much. And then when you put the well in, a sleeve that protects the first whatever period of time that your geologists determine, whatever period of space that your geologists determine is the infiltration range for the monsoon water versus the aquifer you're tapping into underground, right? So I would imagine that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, the aquifer supposedly is below, like, they have different layers, like you were talking about, clay layers and different, like, impermeable layers, and the aquifers are below all of that. So I think
below that,
what's happening is the surface runoff is,
so they
infiltrating.
They usually can put sleeves down wells to protect down to the impermeable layer. I got to say in the screen, sleeves down to protecting that impermeable layer.
For people listening and not watching, we're getting a lot of hand motions.
Right.
but basically talking about protecting underneath the ground where the water could be contaminated to the point where it can no longer be contaminated.
A sleeve is like casing, like for when you're drilling a well, you've got the well pipe, and then you have a casing that goes down. Is that what you're meaning by a sleeve? Yeah.
And that's exactly right. So if you're drilling wells like that, and then you put a good well cap on it, and possibly, I mean, I don't know, literally, are we talking about the water near where the well is literally running over the ground up to a certain number of feet?
Yeah, there's at least, sometimes 2 to 3 feet of water running through the village during that monsoon season, right? So,
when you put your wells in,
sorry.
when you put your wells in, are they in a well house or are they exposed to the elements?
They're outside. There's no.
Are you able to put a cap on them, like a sealed cap?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. That's just something that we learned starting in this last trip, that they would bring it up. They said, well, the water's great. We're really grateful for it. We're, again, like we were talking about earlier, we don't have to travel 5 miles to get the water now, and now we don't have to buy the water because it's through here. But just during those, I think it's July and August when that monsoon season comes and there is running water through the village, they said that is where they have the problems, with the water quality. So anyway, but sounds like
physical barrier.
That the physical barrier, the casing could be. Could that be implemented in an existing well location, or would it have to be a new drill?
No, it can be. You got to get a company who's willing to do that, or you got to get clever. I mean, it's literally just getting the right sheath and putting it down the well, and then hooking it in at the top so it doesn't just fall through. I mean,
makes sense. Yeah,
it's that simple. It's just an engineering feat. And people do it. So yeah, it's a physical barrier too. I mean, the infiltration is not going to travel laterally that far. You would have to talk to somebody else, an expert that's not me, about the specifics, but it can't travel laterally that far. So if you had a barrier that was big enough around it, like I've heard numbers like 10, 15 feet, like a wall around it, that can also help the problem. But you'd have to ask a different expert about that.
Right, got it. That makes sense.
Well, it sounds like you two need to schedule lunch and come up with some of these solutions. I mean, hopefully it is that simple of a fix to protect these wells and obviously to continue to provide clean water to these communities. I kind of want to go back to something you said, Cydian, that or maybe, I don't know if it was a surprise or not, but something that you're interested in and something we talk about quite a bit here on the Poodcast is how clean water sanitation, affects gender equality. I'm curious, what else, you didn't anticipate ever getting into this space. What else has come as a surprise as you have dived deeper and deeper into the challenges, the solutions? There is so much I didn't know before this podcast. And now it's like, you don't know how big the problem is or how innovative people are until you really dive in. So what have been some things that have surprised you along the way?
Well, what surprises me and what might be interesting to your listeners may not be the same thing. Like the things that surprise me are how hard it is to get perfectly clean water. And when I say perfectly clean, I mean, if you try and conduct electricity through it, it cannot conduct electricity. That's the level of cleanliness. Because electricity only travels through water because of the elements that are in water. One of the ways you can actually identify how clean water is by measuring the conductivity of water. And it's so difficult to get water down to, I think it's called 18 milliohms of cleanliness. The difference between getting it nearly clean, which you can do for like $5,000, $10,000, and getting it perfectly clean is in the $500,000 range.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You mean for a single system, like for a private residence? Okay.
Yeah, which you would never do for a private residence. You do that for like laboratories and stuff.
Right.
And then the laboratories, they have to have it in this self-contained circulating system because the instant it's exposed to the air, it instantly starts absorbing stuff from the air, making it no longer perfectly clean. That's one of the things that shocked me the most about water is learning about what perfectly clean water really means. And if you were to drink that perfectly clean water, it starts stripping stuff from your body. Water that people are worried about reverse osmosis water stripping stuff from your body, but it's not going to do that. It has to be to that laboratory level cleanliness where you start to where that would actually be a concern. So that, I mean, that's one of the things that I found most interesting and that shocked me on my journey in water treatment.
So maybe we're a little bit, I guess we could be obsessed with the idea of pure water.
Yeah.
But actually, truly pure water does more damage than good.
Truly pure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Water that is too pure would hurt you. Yeah. Yep. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's interesting. What about taste? You mentioned the rotten eggs earlier. Like, and maybe EPA says it's okay, but who wants to drink rotten eggs, right?
Yeah, the rotten egg smell just comes from hydrogen sulfide gas, and that comes from any decomposing matter of some sort. It's like dead tree trunks in your well, or it's iron bacteria is a big problem up here. And a lot of people don't know what iron bacteria is. If you've ever seen images of the Titanic, the film that's around the Titanic, that's the biofilm that is an example of the biofilm that would form around iron bacteria, for example. And that, when it dies, it creates pockets for sulfur-forming bacteria, which creates that rotten egg smell. It's interesting because that's not really bad for you. It smells awful, but it's not really that bad for you. You can drink quite a bit of it before you even get a tummy ache. But yeah, it's not fun to live with. And basically, I would not recommend anyone just live with that. It's pretty easy to resolve.
Yeah, it's interesting. Taste isn't necessarily a good indicator of whether or not it's good or bad for you. I mean, I'm sure if it's really bad, you may be able to taste it. But just because it doesn't taste great or smell great doesn't mean you can't drink it and be okay.
Yeah, for sure. If you were to draw a Venn diagram, it would overlap, but there would be a lot of outliers. There'd be good water that tastes bad, and there'd be bad water that tastes good.
Yeah, if your water's too sweet, it may have arsenic in it.
Right, yeah.
We all used to drink out of the hose as kids. Is that like really not a good idea? Or is it like, if it's coming from your city and you've looked at the water report, you're probably okay?
If you've looked at the water report, you're probably okay.
Okay.
I mean, almost every municipality will have chlorine and chlorine byproducts in it. And so just to go briefly into what chlorine byproducts means, there's things like trihalomethane and chloroform. Yeah, that stuff they put people to sleep with. And
yeah, that sounds really bad.
Yeah. And dibromochloroacetic acid and all that. Those are all chlorine byproducts, and you have drunken a lot of it. I guarantee that in your life you've had tons of that, and you're fine. So I mean,
well, the jury's still out, but relatively, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they allow some of that in, because the other alternative is they have to shut down, and then you're drinking bacteria-filled water, which will definitely kill you. So the EPA does its best, considering, in fact, they say right on the EPA website that the maximum contaminant level, meaning the legal level, is the closest they can get to the health guideline, considering available technology and reasonable cost. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially saying it would cost municipalities too much to make the water even better. And so that's put on the homeowner to decide whether they want to do that. And so you can absolutely get all the chlorine and chlorine byproducts out of your water. You can get fluoride out of your water. You can get any arsenic or PFAS, forever chemicals. You can get all that out of your water at your home. But you probably can't ask the municipality to do any better than they're doing at this point.
Yeah. I do have a final question, but Darren, I want to give you a chance if you have any, because I know we're kind of running down on time, but I want to ask one more.
Yeah, I just want to ask Cydian, What's been the kind of the strangest challenge you've faced with Northwest Water in your
Yeah.
as you've gotten into water? Obviously, you've told us about kind of how you didn't plan on getting into this water space, but it's something you probably can't stop
Yeah.
talking about, right? So what's been the maybe strangest, or if you have a weird or funny story you want to share with us?
Okay. I've got something. Staying positive, because there's some bad stories, but there's the balance between iron bacteria and iron. Iron bacteria will eat iron, right? So if we go out and do a test and we determine that someone has like 3 parts per million of iron, we know what to do about that. And then we treat iron bacteria. So we're using chlorine to do that. We have to use chlorine, right? And the reason we have to use chlorine is nothing else will actually, iron bacteria is incredibly rugged. Nothing else will actually kill it. But we can't have people drinking chlorine. So we have to then run the iron and the iron bacteria through, killing the chlorine, into a mixing tank, which then we can get rid of all the waste, and then run it through a filtration system to get rid of the chlorine and chlorine byproducts and the iron bacteria. And suddenly we're left with a new unknown amount of iron at the end of that, that has been bound together because it's been oxidized. But sometimes people who had crystal clear water before now have like yellow water. And it's better water than it was before, but it looks worse. So we have to go in and fix that after the fact sometimes. It's just a funny balance how the iron level increased because it was released from the iron bacteria that was containing it. It was a funny problem to run into. And we have gotten through it and worked out the bugs by now, but we've had a number of customers who we thought for sure we had the solution for them, and because we give guarantees, so we had to eat a lot of cost for that learning experience. I don't know, that's a very nerdy, funny experience, I guess. But
you can't convince your customers to drink the yellow water, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
we've been warned about that our whole lives.
I was like, the water's fine. You're just getting more iron. Just drink it.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, water's so psychological. It's such a vital element for our survival. Anything that looks off, tastes off, smells off, we're going to be wary of.
Yeah.
But is it at that point just psychological? People don't want to drink yellow water?
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think people should, because water, nothing that we say or do will make people enjoy drinking yellow water. And it does matter. It does matter how people feel about what they're drinking. It's important. If someone has no other choice, then it would be great for them to do testing to make sure it's safe. And then, yes, drink the yellow water once you've done your testing and you know it's safe, because you have no other choice. I would like people to just start relying on water testing, I guess, is what my big takeaway would be is don't do anything you don't feel comfortable with, but do get all the information so you know what you can inform yourself about. If that makes sense.
That's excellent water advice. And the information is there if people want to look up in their own city, the municipal water report. Okay, Cydian, we only have a couple minutes left. I want to, end this on what is exciting you about water treatment right now. Are there any cool new innovations, technologies that you're kind of jazzed about?
Yeah, there is a lot of cool stuff. But one of the main thing that I'm most interested in is desalination. I think it's in Iran right now. They are I think it's Iran. I'm not sure. But they are testing one of the world's largest desalination plants, where they literally have the plant in the ocean, and they are pulling off the heavy hydrogen. The ocean water has often has an extra hydrogen molecule in it. So they're trying to strip off the salt from the water to make it be clean water for drinking, and they're making it much more efficient. And there's a future which is not super far off, because we've just had our first cold fusion situation in the last few years. There's a future where we are going to be able to pull off the hydrogen from the water, the ocean water, because it's extra hydrogenated, and use that power in a fusion reaction to power the plant that is actually treating the water. So in the process of pulling energy off, we will get clean water as a byproduct. Mm. That is still not in existence, but it is so close, probably 20 years, I would guess, probably 20 years away, and maybe more. Maybe I'm being a little optimistic, but it could happen in our lifetime, I guess is what I'm saying, which would be really, hopefully, as long as it's not controlled in a bad way, life-changing for the entire planet.
That sounds like, do you guys remember the movie The Saint, when she figures out the formula to cold fusion and they make it work at the end, and it's the coolest thing ever? I mean, it sounds science fiction. So the idea that, maybe in a 2 or 3 decades, this could become a reality and completely change the entire planet. Yeah. That is exciting.
It is.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Big time. Wow.
Well, Cydian, this has been extremely informative. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise. We're very interested in picking your brain on how to solve some of these issues that we're the challenges we're facing in India with wells and monsoon season. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you being with us.
Absolutely. And I just want to put out an offer. If you guys do a lab test on any of your wells you're drilling, send us the results, and we're not going to charge you anything. We can interpret any of that stuff for you for free and just help you out to kind of identify where it's at and how good it is, and if there's any simple stuff you can do. So
amazing.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, brilliant guy, Cydian.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is he knows his stuff when it comes to water quality. I really loved his offer to send. I mean, he said, "Hey, why don't you send some water?" Which, had I thought about it, because we were back in India back in April, and if I would have thought about it, I would have taken a sample with me, because that was part of the issue. And we're going to highlight that on a couple other episodes, but it was the water quality is pretty good, except there's a couple times during the year where, especially in,
That's right.
especially during monsoon season, where they actually have flooded streets, right? And so sometimes the water, we try to build some protection around it, but there's sometimes it contaminates the water quality, because you have runoff from the at least there in Hyderabad where we're working. They do have that very highly toxic metals and all kinds of stuff that comes into the water. And so it would have been good to get a sample to get to Cydian. But we're actually going back there. Speaking of poo news, we're actually sponsoring. The World Toilet Organization is doing a summit in Delhi, New Delhi, in November.
On the 19th, on World Toilet Day, or is this separate?
Day.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
So we're going back in November. ZuLoo is going to be a sponsor there, and so
yay!
We might be able to get a water sample. I guess I can get Mira just to ship one. If I think about it. I think about
Can you ship water?
bringing a little thing of water on the plane, getting it through security. What is this? Maybe that'd be a challenge, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, Cydian as far as his knowledge of water quality is amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm always surprised. Maybe surprised isn't the right word. I am fascinated by, once we start going down the rabbit hole with some of, these people that we're able to interview, it's wildly fascinating. Mm-hmm. The world of water and testing and, this idea of purity and what it actually means, how we wouldn't want just pure water.
Right.
We need some things in it. We obviously don't want a lot of things in it. Mm-hmm. So it was fun to kind of like peel back the layers with him and really dive in deep to some of that stuff.
Yeah. Knows his stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it was cool the way he got there from property management into, water testing and purification. Yeah. So, Cydian was so much fun. And
yeah, we look forward to working with him.
Yeah, I'm sure he can't wait to get those samples.
I know. Maybe the water will eat through the container before it gets there, but I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on when you take it, I guess.
Yeah, we have to be careful. But anyway.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the ZuLoo Pōōdcast. Follow us on social media at our links in the show notes below. To learn more, visit our website, ZuLoo.org. If you liked the podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. For even more ZuLoo fun, send us an email with your toilet stories to podcast@zuloo.com for a chance to be featured on the podcast. This episode of the ZuLoo Pōōdcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.